Boom! Welcome into SportsBIT Betting Insight today, Thursday, January 19th. Pauly and Teddy, big game breakdown. It's here. NFC Championship game preview, Green Bay and Atlanta. We'll do the NFC on Friday. We got the Nuggets and the Spurs, and a good game in the Pac-12. Arizona hits the road to take on USC. Play the day before we get out of here as well. Very excited again tonight. Google Hangouts live on SBR. It is a 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. Teddy, anything you want to ask? Fire away. We'll sit and chat tonight, Teddy. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So if you got nothing going on, even if you do have something going on, stop by, say hi. We'll be doing a live chat tonight. Of course, we'll be live on video.
Yes, trust the process. The bad bets. The Sixers beat the Raptors at home. Another big win for the Sixers. Embiid was terrific, but a bad bet was on the over. They bet it up from 210 to 215.5. Never had a shot.
Yeah, fell 193. I mean, the Sixers are playing defense right now, and the Raptors really weren't pushing the pace the way they have on the second night of back-to-backs. A little bit of gassed this evening. And there was plenty of Raptors money, too. So not only was the over a bad bet, Toronto a bad bet as well. -5 up to -6. This is the first time that I've noticed that we've seen legitimate and significant market resistance to Philadelphia's dramatic improvement. Remember, the 76ers have the scoring margin of a 56-win team. Let me say that again. The scoring margin of a 56-win team with Joel Embiid on the floor this season. They have a scoring margin of an 11-win team when he's on the bench.
Wow, incredible. Superstar hits the free throws down the stretch to get the big win as well. They were betting the Hawks. Lane 1, bet them up to 2.5. Everyone says in the NBA, every team makes a run. Well, this thing was over in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, there really aren't many NBA games that are absolutely done after one quarter. But if you had a ticket at the Palace last night, you could have left after one. Was it 42-18 after the first quarter? Up 24 after one. The rest of the game was garbage time. And there's hope for Detroit to be a riser. I mean, I continue to think that there will be a time this season there's going to be good money to be made betting on the Pistons. And maybe next time we do NBA movers and shakers, they play like this. We'll be talking about them. You can say the Pistons won the battle of the boards, but there was no battle. Look at the graphic. Detroit plus 28 rebounds, one of the more one-sided rebounding games in modern NBA history. And, of course, what about that showdown inside?
No showdown.
Dwight Howard against Andre Drummond? Let's see. Not so hot. Or how about this? All of the Hawks starters against Andre Drummond? Yeah, Atlanta didn't bring their rebounding medal last night. They didn't show up from quarter number one. Bad bets on the Hawks with all that Hawks money.
What a cancer. He can poison any locker room. Look how the Rockets are doing this year when the management told the coaches, you got to play Capella over Dwight Howard. And Dwight Howard a no-show last night. And Zach Lowe reporting that the Hawks were this close to trading him to the Pelicans. They should have.
Well, Atlanta's played good ball over the course of the last couple of weeks. They just had a no-show last night on a night where the markets were convinced they were going to blow out Detroit.
Unbelievable. 3 rebounds in 21 minutes. Give me a break. This was a point spread hijinks in this one and the total as well. Wizards win again. That's 13 in a row at home. They were laying 3 in most spots. Now the total opened 203, bet up 203.5, bet up to 208 in some spots. Wizards up 3 with the ball, 10 seconds. Grizzlies supposed to foul, but there was a turnover there. So, I mean, the books got middle on that one. And then the Grizzlies trying to tie the game. The 30-foot heave from Carter fell short, didn't make it. And the Wizards win by 3. Wild.
Well, no, Carter hit the 31-foot heave to cut the lead to 3. And then there was a turnover, and they had another shot to send the game into overtime. Which, of course, with the turnover, that means that if Washington doesn't get fouled and go to the free throw line, it means those 1 or 2 points stay off the board. It means that the Grizz don't have one final shot at the very end of the game. But point spread hijinks for sure. You know, the Carter's 31-foot heave allowed all the early Grizzlies bettors to get their money back with a push at +3. But for most of the day, the Memphis backers were +2.5 or +2, and that wasn't good enough. Total lands right in the middle.
The Knicks win a game. What happened to the Celtics? They got beat at home, and Charlotte got healthy with the sort of that homestand. Boy, the Blazers on the road, Teddy, an abomination.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. This is a time of year where you're going to see teams having more than their fair share of no-show games. Boston's came at home last night. Portland's came on the highway in Charlotte against a pretty motivated Bobcats team, but Bobcats Hornets team. Somebody said Bobcats to me the other day. Now it's back in my head. It's killing me.
Hey,
I hate that. You know what I mean? When it's like it took me 2
well,
years to
hey,
get that stupid name out of my head.
yeah,
They switch
Anthony
around
Lynn.
Pelicans, Hornets, Bobcats. Just Anyhow, the bottom line is neither one of them played a good game last night.
Anthony Lynn at the press conference kept saying San Diego Chargers. So, I mean, it's going to take people a long time. Bad beats in college. How about Florida +2? They lost by 4. They didn't hit a 3. The streak's over. First time since January of 1992, the Gators didn't hit a 3.
Yeah, that Gamecocks defense is something special. 0 for 17 from three-point range. Now, Florida's +2 in that game. They go 0 for 17 from 3, and they're still just a bucket away from covering. That's a tough beat, man. If they go 5 for 17, that would be considered a bad shooting night, and yet that would have been enough to have Florida win the game by double digits. So 0 for 17, just brutal. Tough if you had Gators last night.
Well, this is worse. VCU Fordham total under 135.5. 52 at halftime. Overtime.
Yeah, well, 52 at halftime. It's $1.16 at the end of regulation. You had a decent chance to still cash your under bet, even with one overtime session. A total 135.5. Yeah, they got to 136. Yeah, that's pretty brutal for VCU Fordham under bettors, but I'm sure not a ton of those out there this morning.
Yeah, and something that happened last week, we can fit it in here because we've discussed them on the show before. Attorneys for Las Vegas businessman and renowned sports bettor Billy Walters filed a motion asking a federal court in New York to dismiss the high-profile insider trading case alleging government misconduct related to info that was leaked to the media. Walters has denied any wrongdoing, charged with multiple counts of wire and securities frauds stemming from an investigation to a series of stock trades on Dean Foods. Well, along with Phil Mickelson, who just said, I'll give the money back. Nothing to see here. I can't believe that. But the FBI agent admitted to telling the media and leaking information to the media.
It's the reason this story is insane and the reason that it's worth talking about was because, Billy Walters, not once, not twice, 3 times Billy Walters has beaten the feds. Nobody beats the feds 3 times. So here's the 4th time. They got him. All right, it's an open and shut case. He's locked. He's not getting out. There's no chance. Oops. The FBI agent's yapping to the press. The whole case could get thrown out. Billy Walters could walk again. That's newsworthy, Pauly. It really is.
Yeah, and the Mickelson angle, too. Rasputin Walters. Oh, my God. John Gotti here. They can't pin him down. Unbelievable. Not that he's on that level, but he keeps getting out of this, possibly. Up next, big game breakdown. NFC Championship game. Who's ready? Look at this record total. We'll get to Green Bay and Atlanta plus 2 games in basketball to talk about as well on SportsBIT. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, back on SportsBIT. Betting insight today. Pauly and Teddy. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard at Teddy_covers. Here we go. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. The early game Sunday at noon Pacific, NFC Championship. Green Bay and Atlanta. Atlanta 4.5, 60.5 the total. Defense doesn't win championships, I guess. More on that coming up. Green Bay's won 8 in a row. Atlanta's won 5 in a row. During that winning streak, Ryan has 14 touchdowns and no interceptions. They met late October. It was 33-32. Rodgers had 4 touchdowns in that game. Ryan had 3. And who thought this would be the NFC Championship game? Because at the time, Green Bay fell to 4-3 with the loss. Atlanta improved to 5-3 with the win. As we discussed on SportsBIT, Atlanta 14-2-1 of the over on the season, and every home game has gone over. Teddy, will anybody get a stop on Sunday on defense?
And that's the question. First stop wins, Look at the numbers right here. Okay, the Football Outsiders' final ratings for the regular season. Here's the Atlanta Falcons with the number 1 offense. We've been talking about Atlanta's offense all year. We'll get back to that in a minute. Packers, for the full season, they were number 4. But if you look at the back half of the campaign, they were as good as anyone. If you look at the playoff game last week, as good as anyone. Defensively, neither squad in the top half of the league. The first time they met, nothing but shootout up and down the field. There's no reason to think that the second matchup is suddenly going to become a defensive showdown.
Yeah, these are ugly numbers, Teddy. I mean, 25th in defense for Atlanta, 28th passing defense. They allowed 25 points per game. Green Bay, 21st in points per game. And Matt Ryan, the 5th best passer rating in NFL history. And the Packers have all these issues of getting stops. The defense wasn't good to begin with. And now you got all the injuries and the cluster injuries in the secondary.
Sure. I mean, we always talk about defense wins championship. Here's a conference championship game in which both defenses rated number 20 or worse for the full season. Then we talk about the offense. I mean, Atlanta, historically good this season. They averaged 1.2 yards per play above the NFL average. They did that despite facing the number 2 strength of schedule when it comes to opposing defenses. So they were putting up huge numbers, both throwing and passing. Matt Ryan playing at an MVP level all year long. The running game providing an excellent complement. And, of course, the reason that Kyle Shanahan, his name has been bandied about for the 49ers job and several others, is because that Falcons offense has been so good. And it's not just Julio Jones. You know, he's been banged up. They've been able to spread the ball around, find numerous weapons for Matt Ryan to throw to. But Green Bay's offense is every bit as good down the stretch. I mean, the way Aaron Rodgers has played over the last 8 weeks or so, you can't stop it. It doesn't matter what type of defense you're trying to draw up. You put pressure on him, he's going to dump it off. You drop everyone back into coverage, he's going to find holes. You bring an extra rusher, he's stretching plays out to 4, 5, 6 seconds before finding someone downfield. Rodgers is playing at a different level than any other quarterback in football right now. So the big question, Paulie, comes down to who the heck he's going to throw the football to, because we can be confident he's going to have to throw the football to somebody.
Yeah, as we tape this Thursday, I mean, it doesn't look good for Jordy Nelson. And now in a big surprise, Devontae Adams, because of the ankle, will not practice until Saturday, Teddy. This could be a horror show.
But remember, we said the same thing last week. It cost me money last week because I'm like, hey, Jordy Nelson's not there. This offense can't work the same way. Jordy Nelson's so important. And now you say, all right, well, if Adams doesn't play and Nelson doesn't play, the whole offense falls apart. Jared Cook was a monster last week. Aaron Rodgers found 5 different receivers for gains of 25 yards or longer. So now he's facing a defense where you look at that Atlanta back 7, their linebacking core and their secondary. 5 of the 7 players are either first or second year starters. It is not a seasoned unit. Now there's talent there, and I think they got better as the season progressed, but we're still talking about Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers, who has beaten me more than once on the playoff road in the past, even if the receivers aren't 100%.
Hey, I'll tell you something. Possible factor here, though, is team fatigue. Look at this. Atlanta, final game of the season in the regular season, at home against the Saints, bye week. Then total control in the second half against Seattle, no problems there. Green Bay goes to Detroit on the Sunday night game, final regular season, then home for the Giants, then to Dallas, 3rd trip in 4 weeks, while the Falcons haven't had to make one. Huge scheduling edge there for Atlanta, and I think a little bit of pressure off Matty Ryan, because he only had one playoff win, so he beat Seattle, and they're going to be extra juiced up in the final game in the Georgia Dome.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fatigue factor is an issue. So is the Packers defense. I've got my concerns about Green Bay's defense. That's another reason why we lost money betting on Dallas last week. I didn't trust the Packers defense, and I was right not to trust the Packers defense. They got gashed in that game, and of course, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't hit the miracle throw, and the game goes into overtime, and Dallas wins the coin toss, the Cowboys were going to march down the field and get in the end zone, and Dallas was going to cover the spread in that ballgame. Didn't happen. But the Packers defense isn't great when healthy. They got injuries in the secondary. Burnett, very questionable this week. And the Falcons, great players and great schemes to take advantage. Let me talk about Matt Ryan, his quote after the Seahawks win. I think we went where we should with the ball. When they played zone coverage and dropped their guys deep, we checked down, and our running backs did a good job of getting as many yards as they could in those situations. When they meant man-to-man coverage, I gave our running backs, tight ends, and wide receiver a lot of credit because they beat some really good corners and tough guys to go against in man-to-man coverage. Schematically, Paulie, this offense is beautiful to watch.
Okay, now let's get into the total. Where do you think it closes? It's going to be nothing but public money on the over. The professionals will come in on the under just on principle. Although you have to hold your nose on that one. But we just ran it down, 14-2 and 1 of the over this year with Atlanta. It's a square play, but do you still like the over?
I could only look at the over in this, but I sure as hell don't want the under. Let's put it that way. All right, and square play, sharp play. What's the right play? Okay, the sharps are going to auto bet any total this high under. We've already seen it. All right, the total got bet up initially. Now we're seeing the buyback. At the sharp books, it's already down to 60.5, even 60 at a couple, whereas the books that cater to recreational players still sitting at 61, even 61.5. So we've already seen that. I don't think the total is going to go any higher because when you talk about the volume of cash that the sharps are looking to bet, and it's an auto bet. It's just this total's too high. We see a 60, we're going to bet under. And the only previous 60 in the 21st century, 62, between the Rams, the greatest show on turf, and the 49ers. 34-24 was a shootout, stayed under. I can understand conceptually why the sharp money will be on the under in this game, but I think it's wrong. And as we've seen this postseason, it's not like the sharps are having a great postseason so far. Public bettors can and do win, and these are two really elite level offenses. I'd be reticent to bet against either one of them.
Yeah, all good points. Well, again, when the total's that high and you get a 6-minute drive that ends in a field goal, you're up against it with the total that big.
Agreed. But, of course, if you get a kick return touchdown 2 seconds later, you're fine.
Up next, big game breakdown. We'll get to the Nuggets and the Spurs in a Pac-12 game between Arizona and USC, plus the play of the day on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
That's right, the 8th annual SBR Forum Bash will be held at the breathtaking all-inclusive Hard Rock Hotel in Punta Cana on Super Bowl weekend. Join Natalie Rydstrom and the Odds Couple as they mingle with SBR pros and have fun under the sun. Stay tuned for video coverage of Bash activities, including a $5,000 poker tournament sponsored by uwager.eu. Only on SBR, your sportsbook authority since 1999.
Wrapping it up on SportsBIT, Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Big game breakdown continues, as always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Let's go to the association. Nuggets and the Spurs. Spurs, 12.5, 219 the total. The London trip, did it turn the Nuggets season around? Maybe, because they only had to play one game in 8 days. Very rare for an NBA team in the middle of the season. Extra time to practice on the court. 140 points against the Pacers in London, then 125, then 127 points. 99 assists in those 3 games. Moutier came into his own. 13 assists, career high against the Magic on Monday. And Mike Malone said, quote, people forget he's 20 years old, kind of in his second season in the NBA, but I've seen growth, I've seen development, and I see his confidence out there, end quote. And then you got Jokic, who doesn't turn 22 for another month, and he's been great since the London game.
Oh, he's been a monster since the London trip. And again, it's only a 3-game span, but since going to London, 27 points, 12 rebounds, 4.3 assists. Here's Coach Malone talking about the trip. It's kind of like when we were in Omaha training camp. When you're together as much as you are, and granted, most people would guess, there was a lot of interaction with the guys, making sure you're enjoying the trip and having fun while also getting your work done. I think it was terrific in that regard. Guys were able to spend time together and grow and bond as a team, which always helps. So all of a sudden, it's a little 3-0 straight up, 3-0 ATS run for the Denver Nuggets. But looks like Wilson Chandler is going to miss tonight's game. He's their number 2 scorer behind Dalino Gallinari. Chandler with a personal situation. And Gary Harris out again tonight. He's a classic impact player against the spread, but the markets don't adjust for his presence or absence on the floor. Harris, a defensive stopper and a real glue guy for that team. He's been in and out of the lineup this year. Look at Denver's ATS stats when Gary Harris plays, and when he doesn't, give you a hint. They're a lot better with him in the lineup.
Time to ask some questions about the chemistry and the San Antonio defense. We got our money's worth for play of the day out of Kawhi Leonard. Back-to-back games of 38 and 34 points, but the defense was horrible. They gave up 114 points at home to the T-Wolves, and Minnesota got to the line 41 times. Come on.
And they made 36 of them, And we're not used to seeing San Antonio giving up 114 points on 49% shooting. I wonder if this team just needs a challenge right now. This is going to be their 6th straight game as double-digit favorites. And when you have that type of situation, teams can go flat. They play Cleveland on Saturday night. So you just wonder if this is another flat spot before them. Because, we said the Spurs are going to be the acid test for this Denver defense. Now, I got the questions about that Spurs defense for tonight's game against a Nuggets team that's obviously filling up the basket pretty consistently of late.
Fun to watch, and thinking about the 8th seed in the West as well. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Great game tonight in college. Pac-12, Arizona against USC. It's 16-2 against 16-3, although USC is just 500 in conference play. Arizona's 4, 143.5 the total. Last time these teams met in the Galen Center, one of the great games in Pac-12 history, USC won 103-101 in 4 overtimes. I want to start here. I love Andy Enfield. Did a great job at Gulf Coast, something we'll never see again. A 15 seed goes to the Sweet 16, led by 20 in both games. Now, took him to the tournament last year. It was a rough start his first couple of years there. They lost in the 8-9 game, and they're off to a good start here, but they've struggled against good teams, and they like to get up and down, Teddy. Arizona doesn't like to do that. And also, classic look-ahead spot here maybe, because Arizona plays UCLA Saturday on national television.
Yeah, I mean, these teams are tied, it's 16-2 and 16-3. I don't see this as a look-ahead. There's 2 big games this weekend, not one. And I know they have the Saturday afternoon showdown, but the concern for me, at least, is the 3 freshmen starting for Sean Miller's squad. And Simmons, Hawkins, and Markkanen. There's no revenge motive for those guys coming off the 4 overtime loss here last year. And you wonder if they're susceptible towards having the look-ahead issues with the big TV showdown. But the one thing Arizona does have, they're fresh. Their only game in the last 12 days was an easy home rout of Arizona State. And remember, this team won't run with anyone. It's not what they do. And USC, when they can't run and gun and they're forced to play a half-court game, not the same type of squad generally. Arizona also, man, they're big. 2 7-footers able to play together in Markkanen and Dustin Ristic. A rare team that can put 2 7-footers on the floor at the same time.
So you got to counter that with quick. This is McLaughlin leading the floor game, 13.9 points per game for the Trojans. But they've been out-rebounded so far in 6 Pac-12 games. And if they can't get the game out in the open court, I agree with you, Teddy, they will struggle. Because, again, Arizona, 275 in tempo.
Yeah, the one thing that Arizona, that USC can do effectively against Arizona is that quickness is real. McLaughlin, 92 assists versus only 39 turnovers. He's got 24 steals on this season. He's going to have to play great for the Trojans to be able to hang around in this one, because as you mentioned, that number 275 pace rating for the Wildcats, that's not the way Enfield's squad likes to play. Although you said in history, some 15 seed will make the Sweet 16 and they will beat lead by 20 in the second half of both games. Sooner or later, Pauly.
What are you talking about? There's no way that's ever going to... It's only happened once where a team just got to the Sweet 16. To be up 20 and both... No way that'll ever happen. No
Ever's a mighty
way.
long time, my friend.
Absolutely no chance that happens. It's happened one time that you just get there and then to dominate both games. Hell of a coach, though, Enfield. But money time play of the day. Let's stick with this game. Betting number 741. Arizona laying the 4. I'm with Teddy here. No look ahead because Arizona's tied for first in the Pac-12. They want to get a top seed. They want to continue to win, and they'll be ready for UCLA. But everything points to Arizona in this game as well. Again, Enfield's a terrific coach, but they struggled on a neutral against Wyoming. They've struggled away from home as well. I think Arizona, the better team, will lay the short number with this one. Again, betting number 741. Arizona minus the points. Tomorrow, AFC Championship game. A good card in the association and some marquee games in college hoops. And always bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. We'll see you tonight with the Google chat on SportsBIT Live, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 Eastern. We'll talk to you then. And thanks for watching. Tell your friends. SportsBIT, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.